They had it dispensed to patients, and they had the doctors monitor the patients. A simple way of collecting the anecdotal evidence. What did I do? I said to the now chairman of the hospital board, have it put on the formulary. She rang Robin, her board, and she was told she was going too fast. Cannabis is on the formulary now. But you will hear that the recommendation came from somewhere else. We need to stop this. And I go back to the AG. When he talked about turf, literally turf wars going on when people are sick. We got to stop it. People who know me know that I would not be silenced. One way or the other, I'm going to speak. During the session with the couple days, I indicated to Minister Ware that I've been retained by the Nyabingi group to bring a legal action as it relates to sacrament. My advice to the group was to wait and allow these proceedings to take place and see if the government would put to Parliament. That is the way it happens. It is government who is to put it to Parliament. Now, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, in a little tete-a-tete with the AG on the issue of a referendum, I find in the throne speech by Her Excellency Dame Sandra Mason that point, and I have it here as it relates, as she would say, my government. I believe I can get the quote for you. June the 5th, 2018, at page 8, paragraph 3. After a period of public education, debate, and consultation, my government will hold a referendum on the decriminalization of recreational marijuana. In the interim, however, we follow the science, accept the benefits of medical marijuana in treating a multiplicity of complaints. We will regulate to facilitate its availability to those in need. That is from Her Excellency. I don't know about any manifesto. That is politics. We are in Parliament. That is the throne speech, sir, that governs what this government does. And that is as I understand it. So as a result of that, you have a bill. Whether or not the bill is in perfect form, and that never happens, but you have a bill, you have a start. There is an attempt to pull away from the existing bill, and that is understandable. The existing bill is one of penalties. Even though the system has gone the way of drug courts, testing, I understand that council abuse may be no more. The move essentially is not to punish by incarceration, as the international statutes say, but rather to look at abuse for what it is. And I'm going to fast track through this. If you look at your penal sections, $1 million, 10 years, $100,000, 10 years, you haven't changed the mode of thinking. Do not criminalize my people. What I always say to Rastafari, I'm going to go back there, the throne speech does not include them. Why? They did not agitate correctly. Is it because they are a minority group? What helps them now? And they can do this. Go to the OECS website, look for Justice Eddie Ventos, you'll find his decision there. Go to South Africa, look for that decision, came out last year. I shared that in December with the Rastafari at a session we had. The law is patently clear. Any action against this government on the constitutional point, even taking the preamble under Section 11, which will protect your privacy in your home and your conscience, coupled with Section 19 that protects your right to practice your religion, you will win at the CCJ. Justice Byron has thrown out the Savings Law Clause. I'm sure the AG is aware of that. So there's nothing basically holding a court back. from bringing a decision in the same vein as, I would say, the young Eddie Ventos has done in the OECS. In St. Kitts, I moved to St. Kitts to catch my breath. I can grow 4 plants because they're decriminalized through the same judgment. It is strange for a judge to give Parliament time, but that was the approach used in the Canadian decisions. It has borne fruit, and obviously, politically, the party unity will leverage on that, as I believe any smart party will do. Now, rushing along, I would suggest that you look at your definitions of young person in section 2, and this is something that pharmacist.
You have 2 minutes.
The pharmacist should pay attention to.
No need to go there. I think the consensus is that the distinction between 21 and 18 is not one that's practicable or sustainable.
Right, but what you need to do, though, is flip over to Cat 131, because young person is also defined there, and it is age 14. So you need to, for the sake of consistency, still take a look at it. So you'll find several instances where there are penalties for dealing with young persons, but the age is different. So you have to still take a look at that. What I will say here is, since I'm running out of time, but I know that the public will ask me a lot of questions. Hemp, nowhere in the bill is there any reference to hemp. This is as good a time to fix that. The FDA has now defined hemp. They've separated marijuana from hemp, where hemp is defined as 0.03% of THC, less than 0.03% of THC. What that will do is free up a whole new possibility in terms of agricultural production. It would introduce the concept of drug versus food, drug versus industrial applications, and you can actually run the two industries in parallel by simply inserting a definition with the framework or the regulations to come after. Time, yes, time. I wouldn't force it. If that's the 15 minutes, that's the 15 minutes.
You want to quickly wrap up your presentation, Mr. Trotman?
Well, what I would say is that it would be interesting to see the legal advice that was given in the area of international law, because I think a lot of that is lacking from what I've seen here. And I had indicated to the Deputy Clerk that I will make a submission in writing. I hope it will be received, but it will cover some of those areas. Even in the CARICOM Commission, they also fell down a bit in terms of how to treat with international law, especially as CARICOM. There are ways to push back, because changing the hardcore position, as you find in the 1961 Act, you're not going to get the WHO or anybody reclassifying anything soon. But there are other ways in international law to make your presence felt in a harmonized way. I would say, why would I not be able to move if I'm a Rasta and I have my rights basically proclaimed in St. Kitts and in Antigua? Why can't I come to Barbados and practice my religion? You know, that makes no sense when we're talking about contingent rights and all these things. So I have a lot more to say another time.
Presentation is up for questions and comments. Any questions and comments from the committee? There being none, go ahead, Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Just to say, Mr. Chairman, it's really a pity that we could have a presentation of this quality coming out of multifaceted experience, personal as well as legal research, and it has to be hurried and rushed and abbreviated at the end of the day. That is the point I want to make.
Any further comments? No? Are there any other comments or questions from the committee?
Let me say I'm grateful to Mr. Trotman for his presentation, and I believe much of his stance comes from something that none of us, or few of us, will ever be able to claim, and that is the pain and anxiety of having a terminally ill loved one. And then in our throne speech we say we will let the science take us where we need to be. I want to say that I am sorry that this system proved to be so intractable and so hidebound by rules that it found itself unable to respond to a genuine human need. I think it is tragic that by being so unwilling to change the way in which we do things, that you and your family suffered hardship when it could so easily have been avoided.
Minister Ford, then
I want to thank you,
Minister Hinkson.
Mr. Trotman, sir. You said that you obviously, due to your experience with a sick wife and using marijuana for palliative care, you have documented the response to treatment, and at some point in time, if you can share that, because that is actual clinical evidence that would help inform discussions like these, because, I mean, you would have that information, and based on, I see you have a lot of paperwork there. I suspect you would have documentation in terms of how I was able to help in terms of pain and what signs and symptoms and what's not. So I appreciate it. Sir. Yeah, thanks.
With the leave of the committee, we now go. Sorry, Mr. Hinkson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Me too would obviously wish to empathize with Mr. Trotman and his family on circumstances which could easily have been avoided by state intervention. And I mean, especially so since I knew his wife and I know her family very well. I know